Hello once again on this very sunny and the pollen count here is absolutely horrendous. Hence the sunglasses. You don't want to see my eyes. Before I start, let me say I've left a link to a very important video that you should watch. It's much more informed. It's a much more informed view than I can ever deliver by two professional people. Now, I've covered this subject before, but I'll do it again. We are told that we must hate Russia. Its musicians, its authors, its artists, its culture, and even sportsmen and women. But most of all, its political structure. And I, for one, as I've said many times before, will not be told who to hate or who to love, come to that. And Russophobia has got out of all proportion. And the Russian people, the ordinary Russian people, are asking the world, why do you hate us so much? What did we do as Russians, apart from losing 27 million of our ancestors, fighting fascism? Now, there is a book actually called Russophobia, and it's a book written by a guy called Glenn Dyson, or Dyson. He's a Norwegian professor with a PhD in politics and international relations. And his book sells for around £90. And that just reflects the situation between Norway and the rest of Europe. I won't be buying that book, but there is a short synopsis online somewhere for those who are interested. And Russophobia, if you don't know already, is the irrational fear of Russia. And a key thing in the study of propaganda in the West, as Russia has throughout history been assigned as the other side or the outsider. Now, propaganda, as you know, is the science of convincing an audience without appealing to any reason whatsoever. The West and Russia have been lined up as West versus Europe. Sorry, West versus East, and Europe versus Asia. Civilized versus barbaric, modern versus backward, liberal versus autocratic, and even good versus evil. And most problems like this are born from fear. And many fears are unfounded. But propaganda makes those fears look very real indeed. That's for sure. Now, going back a few years, during the Boris Yeltsin years, Russia was actually on its knees, socially and economically. And the USA thought they had Russia by the balls. And then came along a man called Vladimir Putin, who turned Russia into what it is today, a vibrant society with a strong economy despite all the Western sanctions put on it. And America just doesn't like that one little bit. And that's why America has implemented this attack on everything Russian, and Europe and everyone else must follow. And we're all joined in, Britain and the whole of Europe. And we have become the vassal states of united skullduggery and deception. As far as I can see, Russians are just people like you and I. Unfortunately, they are fighting a battle against the whole of the collective West, and it's becoming extremely volatile and very, very dangerous indeed. the American-led hubris is going to end up, as all hubris does, with nemesis, and it will surely come as sure as night follows day. The question is, who will be the victor and who will be the vanquished? The West or Russia? I know where my money is on, that's for sure, and it isn't on the fools in the West. Now, I know that Finland has many issues with Russia, and they are founded in the Winter War of 1939 and the Continuation War, and most people will agree the history there is a lot deeper than it is, and it is long and convoluted. We know that. But that aside, if we take away the political borders, like it or not, you are the same people, born out of thousands of years of east-west migration. Therefore, the only division is a political one, and a long historical hatred handed down by historians and rumours. Which brings up the question to mind, how can we hate people we've never met? But we do, because the world is high on xenophobia, the fear of foreigners. Hate the Brits, hate the French, hate the Chinese, hate the Germans, and now it's Russia's turn once again. And England and France have a similar division. The French hate us and we hate the French. Or do we? Do we? I've worked in France and I found the French very accommodating and willing to celebrate entente cordiale, which is basically a cordial agreement or agreeing to differ. And to be perfectly honest, Britain is disliked globally for its past imperialism. But much of this is historical, and we, the Brits today, are not responsible for our ancestors' crimes, and neither is Russia. But as always, there has to be a united prejudice of the mob, which is what it is, mob rule with historical hatred, mostly down to old wounds that are open and festering and not allowed to heal because of old grievances from the past. Now, while propaganda has the positive effect of promoting unity and shifting resources towards rational and strategic objectives, it can also have a negative effect of creating irrational decision-making and obstructing a workable peace deal, which is exactly what is not going on in Ukraine right now. The good old US of A lead and feed their agenda, and like all bullies, they want others on their side to gang up on the victim. And the victim certainly isn't always apparent. Give a dog a bad name, and it follows him around forever, blighting by rumour and bad reputation of one individual. And then it becomes a bogeyman by reputation, and often it is very often unfounded. As I've said before, the American people are just fine. Like most people throughout the world, just fine. It's just the leaders. And it's only when we stir up with propaganda that's when the problems arise. Now, thanks to the Nazi regime and the evil propaganda led by Goebbels, he convinced millions that the Jews were nothing more than animals that must be exterminated. Consequently, millions died in the concentration camps. And in Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, he called the propaganda Grobe Lüge, which translates into the big lie, and turns out the biggest lie ever. Well, up until 2019 anyway. And that is exactly where negative propaganda leads us. Confused, scared, divided and controllable. exactly where they want us, under a clenched fist. The recent G7 talks in Hiroshima were pure hypocrisy once again, when plans were made there about sending F-16s to Ukraine. Didn't these morons realise where they were speaking from and the devastation brought upon Japan by America and its allies? Jesus H. Christ, you couldn't make it up. Now, Friday saw the US Secretary of State Tony Blinken in Helsinki delivering a speech that informs Finland that Russia has made a strategic error and will lose the special military operation in Ukraine. If anyone believes that, then you're as deluded as he is. Blinken, along with all the other war hawks, are in desperate mode and will use any means necessary to spread their hatred of Russia. And while Finland fights its battles, he will be tucked up in bed thousands of miles away. Good luck with that. You've been suckered by propaganda. And I shake my head. Now, here's the thing. Many people in the West, because of the constant propaganda and fake news, are suffering from something called anorexia, which means the inability to distinguish between reality and fantasy. So what I'm going to do, from next week, I'm going to cut off my right arm, poke my right eye out, and then I'm going to identify as Lord Nelson. And with that, I rest my case and bid you good day from aboard HMS Victory at Trafalgar. What could possibly go wrong? Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.